In the 5th year of my relationship with my boyfriend, I suddenly felt the urge to get married. But I knew he didn't love me. If it weren't for my initial passion, my relentless pursuit, and what I considered to be a moving display of affection, perhaps we would never have been together. In the afternoon, Wilfred sent me a WhatsApp message, "Working dinner tonight, don't wait up." Feeling restless, I made some instant noodles, fed the cat, and lay in bed playing video games. My eyes were strained from playing for so long. I checked the time, it was 10 p.m., and Wilfred still hadn't returned. Bored out of my mind, I opened his ex-girlfriend's X account. His ex was called Agatha Somerville. What an artistic name. It had been a while since I'd last looked, and I discovered she seemed to have returned to the UK. She had just updated her status today. She had only posted 2 sun emojis, a selfie where she was smiling sweetly with 2 adorable dimples, and a photo of some dishes on a table. I opened the full-size image and saw a familiar hand. It was wearing the watch I had bought for him. That was Wilfred. So it turns out he was meeting his ex-girlfriend behind my back today. As I scrolled further back, I discovered that Agatha Somerville had returned about a month ago. My heart sank. I carefully thought back on Wilfred's behavior over the past month. He always had business engagements, which I never questioned. Now I wonder how many of those times he was secretly meeting his old flame? I dialed his number. "Hello?" His cool voice came through after just a few rings. "Where are you?" I asked. There was a brief pause on the other end, perhaps surprised by my directness, as I never call him. "Just downstairs." "I'll be up in a moment." "All right, I'll wait for you." Neither warm nor cold, neither hot nor lukewarm, that's how he always is. I've never liked room temperature water. I prefer it either scalding hot or ice cold. I despise tepid water, just as I despise the version of myself that was blind to reality. Suddenly, I felt weary of this life. When Wilfred returned, I said nothing, and he offered no explanation. As usual, I embraced him from behind. "Agatha's back, isn't she?" I asked calmly. I felt his back stiffen for a moment. "Yes," he replied. "You've seen her, haven't you?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" Wilfred remained silent for a long time. I only heard a sigh. Of course, I understood. This wordless sigh was his answer to me. I was just someone dispensable, so why bother explaining anything to me? I turned away, suddenly feeling my eyes burn. Unable to control it, tears soaked into the pillow. The next morning when I woke up, Wilfred had already left. Looking at the empty room, I suddenly felt how pointless this all was. I thought I could carry on as if nothing had happened, but I realized I couldn't. Before, I could tolerate my boyfriend having someone else in his heart, playing the fool and getting through each day, believing that time would surely make people forget certain things. But I couldn't tolerate my own self-deception anymore. He doesn't love me. I called my best friend Mabel Chatwin and her boyfriend to help me pack my belongings. My things were everywhere. I didn't realize I had bought so many little knickknacks, filling every corner of the house. Oh, Wilfred's house. All day long, I didn't receive a single message from Wilfred. So be it. As I was leaving, I left the key by the entrance, taking one last look at this home. The cat circled around me. It wasn't my cat anyway, I sighed. Finally, I closed the door and left. Mabel said I had finally come to my senses and stopped hanging on to a lost cause. I told her I was just a cuckoo in the nest, and now I had to face reality and make way for others. To celebrate my return to the wonderful single life, Mabel invited a group of girlfriends over for a party that evening. After it was over, those with boyfriends and husbands were picked up, leaving just Mabel and me. Best friends are the most reliable after all. I leaned on Mabel's shoulder, remembering my first meeting with Wilfred. It was at a university dinner. He was a senior, 2 years above us, in charge of welcoming the freshers. I fell for him at first sight because Wilfred was indeed handsome and academically brilliant. I admit I was shallow, judging by looks alone. At the freshers' dinner table, I planned to go chat him up and ask for his WhatsApp, but then I saw Agatha, a beautiful and elegant senior. They walked away arm in arm, but I was already smitten. Lost in thought, my phone started ringing. It was him. I hung up. He called again. I hung up again. Then he sent a message. Where are you? I didn't reply. Answer me. Another call came through. I picked up. Where are you? My intoxication cleared halfway, then I came to my senses. Wilfred, let's break up. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly spoke. Where are you? Let's break up, I've already moved out. I'm tired. Tell me where you are. His tone seemed a bit angry. What does it matter where I am? Tell me. I felt like I was pushing him to his limit, but what did it matter now? Are you coming? Even if you do, what can you do? I sneered. I don't love you anymore, I answered. Then I hung up the phone. Mabel's boyfriend came to pick us up. Back at my own place, I was mostly sober. I knew that even if he didn't love me, after spending so many years with someone, you'd feel something for them even if it's just like having a pet cat. Yes, just like the feeling of keeping a cat. 5 years. If I had been more decisive and not wasted so much time on him, I might even have had children by now. Indeed, why should I live for him? I am Muriel Sparrow, and I should live for myself. Waking up with a hangover always gives me a headache. I opened my phone to find only one missed call and a WhatsApp message. Stop this nonsense and come back. That's all Wilfred sent, as brief as ever. I've moved out, yet he still thinks I'm just playing games with him. I recall the many times before when we'd argue and I'd storm out. He never came looking for me. Because he knew that within a day, I'd return on my own. If it went beyond 3 days, he'd send a message asking me to come back. I'd think he was softening, and so I'd return. But it's different now. My patience has run out. A few days ago, I was thinking maybe I should just go through with it, just get married. After all, I'm 28 and wanting to settle down. Does it really matter who I marry? At least I know him inside out. But it wasn't until Agatha came back that I suddenly realized, this won't do. After freshening up, I head to work as usual. I've recently started in a new field, working late into the night, too busy to check my phone. By the time I'm ready to leave, it's already 9 p.m. To my surprise, I see Wilfred waiting outside my office building. Of course, I know he's come here on purpose. After all, our offices aren't even in the same direction. Muriel, come back home, he says, looking at me earnestly. For a moment, I think I catch a glimpse of reluctance in his eyes. Where's Agatha? Isn't she with you? I ask with feigned interest, as if inquiring about a casual friend. There's nothing between us. I find that I don't really care much anymore. Be reasonable, stop this nonsense. Even now, he still thinks I'm just acting up. I suddenly start laughing, then say to him very seriously, Wilfred, I'm not playing around. I'm serious this time. I can't take it anymore. Whether you believe it or not, I don't want to be with you. I want to find my own happiness. You still love me, Wilfred says softly. Of course I do. I've loved you for 9 years, after all. That's why I want to end this gracefully. If it's convenient for you, you can drive me home, but this will be the last time. Yes, Wilfred didn't pester me. He dropped me off at home and left. I knew he was taking a gamble, betting that I would return. After university, Agatha went abroad to study, leaving Wilfred behind. I was in my 2nd year then, young and fearless. For 2 years, I hovered around Wilfred, caring for him. Finally, after my graduation, I succeeded in winning him over and moved in with him. When we first got together, Wilfred told me he was naturally aloof and wouldn't give me much. Looking at his handsome face, I assured him confidently that I didn't need much. I remember our first time together, he asked if I was scared. I puffed out my chest like a brave soldier. We spent the most challenging days after graduation in that rented flat. 3 years after my graduation and 5 after Wilfred's, we bought the house he's living in now. I chose every floor tile, every bowl in that house. When we moved from the rented flat to the new house, I was so excited I couldn't sleep all night, holding him close. I thought I would be the mistress of that house. More importantly, I thought we would go on like that forever. Where did it start to go wrong? Was it when he said he was busy in a meeting when I fell ill? Or when he didn't want to go every time I asked him to watch a film with me? Or his indifference when he couldn't be bothered to explain why he met Agatha? I can't remember clearly. Weren't these all normal? How strange, tears are falling without my consent, but I really don't want to cry. This was my choice. There's no reason to regret it. Let's just say my youth was wasted. The next day at work, I saw Wilfred again. It's laughable, really. We were together for 5 years, and he never once saw me off to work. I had nothing to say to him. "Muriel," he called out. Just a few days apart, and he looked haggard. I stopped in front of him. "If you have something to say, just say it." "I thought I made myself clear," I said, looking up at him, at the face I had loved for 9 years. "When are you coming back?" I laughed. "You never did this before when I left." "What's different this time?" "Muriel, I was wrong. Please come back." I believe it must have taken a lot for him to say this. He was always proud, never admitting defeat to me. I didn't reply, walking past him. Suddenly, he grabbed my hand and pulled me into his arms. He held me tight. "Wilfred, let go. I need to get to work." "If you want to act mad, find someone else," I growled. "There's no one else." His voice came from above my head, soft. "Whether there is or isn't doesn't matter to me." "I've already broken up with you," I said, unable to move in his embrace. "There's no Agatha. I only met her once." I was wrong. Sometimes I think men are truly pathetic. When you're passionate towards them, they seem indifferent. When you become indifferent, they come running after you. "Can you drive me to the office?" To be honest, I didn't feel any stirring in my heart at his declaration. I purely didn't want to be late for work at this point. The drive was silent. I used to initiate all sorts of conversations with him, but now, I just don't have the energy. I told Mabel Chatwin about this. She said men never know how to cherish what they have. If I forgave him now, it wouldn't be long before he reverted to his old ways. Since I'd already made such a big decision to leave, there was no point in going back. Then she whispered to me that her cousin's son had recently moved back to our city and was single and quite a catch. She suggested we could meet. "You know, I'd never set you up with someone who wasn't worth it," she said. I believed her and left work in a colleague's car to avoid running into Wilfred Thornton again. I was curious about this cousin's son Mabel had never mentioned before. He wore a simple t-shirt, had neatly combed hair, and a boyish face that made him look like a cheerful young lad. As soon as I sat down, he introduced himself. "Hello Muriel, I'm Swain Sinclair." Since it was my first time on a formal blind date, I felt a bit awkward and quickly introduced myself as well. Swain told me he had just moved back and recently secured a job. Chatting with him was enjoyable. I thought blind dates would be full of cliché drama and odd characters, but this wasn't bad at all. After dinner, Swain suggested we go see a film. I felt a bit dazed, as I couldn't remember the last time I'd been to the cinema. We watched a new comedy that had just been released. I laughed like an idiot in the theater. It was the happiest day I'd had in a while. So when he offered to walk me home, I didn't refuse. Of course, what I didn't expect was to find Wilfred Thornton waiting outside my flat again. Wilfred was visibly startled when he saw the person next to me. I didn't really intend to explain anything. I turned to Swain and asked him to leave first. Sensing this was my personal matter, Swain didn't ask questions and nodded before departing. "Who's he?" Wilfred grabbed my hand and demanded. "No one, just a blind date," I said, pulling my hand away. "Just a few days? You're already desperate to find someone new?" I could hear the anger in his voice. I felt utterly exasperated. "Wilfred, I really don't know what you're trying to do now. I've made it very clear we've broken up. I don't want to be with you anymore. Can't you see that? Don't think I'm just trying to upset you. I simply want to start a new life. I want to meet new people, that's all. Why? There is no why, Wilfred. I'm tired. I really can't take it anymore. Do you want to get married? If you're willing, we can go to the register office tomorrow. I found his words utterly ridiculous. Wilfred pulled me closer, holding my shoulders and looking down at me as he said, "That day, it was Agatha Somerville who invited me for dinner. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd overthink it. There's nothing between us, we're purely old friends meeting up." I removed his hands. "I see. You see? There was never anything between us. I admit I didn't answer you that night when I got back because I thought it was just a small matter, and if I said anything, we'd end up arguing for hours." It was rare to hear Wilfred explain so much at once. But I felt nothing inside. "So you thought I'd bring up old grievances?" I said to Wilfred, enunciating each word. "You're wrong, Wilfred. I'm not breaking up with you because of Agatha. It's because you don't love me." Wilfred stared at me, stunned. I continued, "You don't love me. Even after 5 years, ask yourself, have you ever truly cared about me? Do you know how many sisters I have? You don't, because you never attend our gatherings. Do you know my favorite dish? Do you know my favorite book? Do you know which celebrity I like? Shall I go on?" I took out the only photo we had together from my wallet and tore it up in front of him. 5 years, and we only had one photo together. Now it's gone. I turned and went upstairs. I didn't know what he might be thinking. I just felt that my whole being was relieved. For a long time, I didn't see Wilfred Thornton again. Occasionally, I would meet up with Swain Sinclair. I had told him everything about my relationship with Wilfred, and I even presumptively told him not to waste time on me. After all, it takes time to truly forget someone. However, he very generously expressed that he didn't have many friends here either, so he just considered me as a new friend. Mabel Chatwin often whispered in my ear that Swain was worth considering, saying that without starting a new relationship, one can't forget the old one. I scoffed at this. Because when I was with Wilfred, he had told me that Agatha Somerville was the love of his life, and even if he was with me, a part of his heart would always be reserved for her. At the time, I readily agreed, fearing he might leave me the next second. After all, I had him now, so what was there to worry about? I remember the first time we bought a house. To celebrate, he got drunk that day, which was rare for him. He fell into my arms and said, "I finally have everything." I guessed some of what he meant. But I, being overwhelmed with happiness, didn't have time to think about it too much. Wilfred truly worked hard. Within a few years after university, he had established himself in the city on his own merit. He was meticulous in his work, never making mistakes, and impeccable in his dealings with others. In the eyes of others, I was the lucky one who had managed to snag him. But no one knew that in this relationship, I was always the one bowing and scraping. I used to be very afraid he would leave me. After all, he was my first true love. From love at first sight to his breakup with Agatha, I waited for 2 years. Then it took another 2 years to become his girlfriend. And then we were together for 5 years. From 18 to 27, my youth was all about him. Sometimes I would ask Mabel, "Do men really get moved by women to the point of being with them?" Mabel's boyfriend said yes, if they happened to be single, they wouldn't mind. Although he was later beaten up by Mabel for saying that, it didn't seem entirely unreasonable. Looking back on my life with Wilfred, in our 5 years of living together, he never once took the initiative to celebrate my birthday. I would be grateful if he occasionally felt happy enough to accompany me shopping. What kept me going for so many years, apart from love, was stubbornness. I couldn't bear to let go of someone I had finally gotten. I couldn't accept that my efforts would go unrewarded. I couldn't bear the thought that my youth would be left with regrets due to my wrong choice. I know how hard it is for a person to face their own shortcomings, to admit their mistakes. But now, I've finally made peace with myself. So, a month later, I agreed to Swain's suggestion that we should give it a try. I was afraid that after 5 years of heartache, I might not be able to muster any interest in a new relationship. But Swain, like a ray of sunshine, illuminated the tightly closed doors of my heart. He would take the initiative to arrange restaurants when we went out for meals. When we traveled, he would make thorough plans. He would notice my little thoughts and moods, and then comfort me. I felt that being with him made me feel more relaxed and at ease. I just didn't expect that I would encounter Wilfred again. It felt like we hadn't seen each other in ages. He had changed. He had lost weight, looked haggard, and the sharpness and calmness in his eyes were gone. That day, I was walking home alone. He was leaning against his car, smoking a cigarette. In my memory, he had never smoked before, not even at social gatherings. He knew I disliked the smell of smoke. So when he saw me, he awkwardly extinguished the cigarette. "Long time no see," I smiled at him, just like old friends meeting. He quickly took a thick album from his car and handed it to me. "What's this?" I didn't take it. "Have a look," he said. Thinking it couldn't hurt, I took it and opened the first page. It was a photo of our alma mater and the restaurant where we had our first group dinner. Taken with the instant camera he had bought for me. Below was the date and a small line of text, "This is our first meeting." Flipping further, there were photos of me watching him play basketball. Photos of me treating him to bubble tea under the pretext of asking for study materials. The restaurant where we had our first meal as a couple. The street where we used to take evening walks. The thick album contained many memories of us together. Shamefully, tears started to fall from my eyes. Then Wilfred embraced me. As his kiss was about to land, I pushed him away with my hand. I was touched, truly. If this had happened before, I would have been over the moon with joy. I used to think that if I ever left Wilfred, I wouldn't be able to go on living. I'd be crying my eyes out, begging him to get back together, or dying at his doorstep if he refused. But in the days without him, I've been happier than I imagined. Did that mean I didn't love him? Otherwise, why would I be so quick to enter into a new relationship? In the end, I realized it was because I had grown accustomed to Wilfred's indifference towards me. I once jokingly asked him why he agreed to be my boyfriend. He said it was because not having a girlfriend was troublesome, as people would inquire, ask questions, and try to set him up, affecting his mood. So, he chose me to avoid the hassle. I believe that if it hadn't been me, he would have chosen someone else. When I had just graduated, Wilfred had already been working for 2 years. His industry demanded extremely high standards for data, so he always held himself to a high standard, not allowing himself to make mistakes. Of course, the reward for this was his rapid promotion and constantly doubling salary. I certainly felt for him, thinking he was working himself to death. But he only told me that he wanted to have his own home as soon as possible. At the time, I thought it would be our shared home. So, I was considerate and didn't want to burden him with worrying about me. But I'm a girl too, you know? I also want a sweet romance, and I want to be loved by a boyfriend. So I pushed him away. "I'm sorry, I already have a boyfriend," I said, wiping away my tears, trying hard to control my emotions. He hugged me again. "I don't want you to go, Muriel. I can't live without you." I broke free from his embrace once more. "But, I don't love you anymore," I said softly, without any emotion. "I don't believe you." Wilfred's face showed an expression of disbelief. 5 years, how could you not love me?" he asked. I laughed. "Yes, 5 years. Why didn't you ever love me?" "I do love you, Muriel. I'm used to having you around. The house is empty without you, even the cat won't let me hold it." The mention of the cat made me feel even more disgusted. Because this cat was raised by Wilfred and Agatha together. After Agatha went abroad, the cat was left with Wilfred, but I was actually the one taking care of it. I remember one time, the only time, I put a leash on the cat and took it out for a walk. But as I was closing the door, the cat suddenly went mad, broke free from my grasp, and ran towards the stairwell. I was terrified at that moment. I ran down from the 20th floor but couldn't find any trace of it. I collapsed in the lobby on the first floor, trembling as I sent a message to Wilfred. Soon, Wilfred called me back. It was very rare for him to call me during work hours, but what I received was a barrage of insults. "How can you be so stupid? Did you leave your brain at home? You lost a cat. Do you know how important that cat is to me?" I was scolded to tears, sobbing and apologizing profusely on the other end of the phone. He dropped a line, "If you can't find the cat, don't bother coming back," and hung up. With shaking hands, I called Mabel. Mabel comforted me on the other end. Muriel, trust me, the cat will definitely be found. Calm down, come on, stop crying now. I calmed down with Mabel's comforting words. Fortunately, not much time had been wasted, so I found the cat at the stairwell corner in the basement. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then I quickly took a photo and sent it to Wilfred. He only replied with an okay. After that, I never took the cat out again. But thinking about it now, his attitude towards me at that time had already said it all. I fought back the nausea as I spoke to Wilfred. It's over, Wilfred. We have no future together. Wilfred lost control, shouting loudly. Why? I admit I didn't pay enough attention to you before, but we've been together for so many years. Don't you feel any regret? See, Wilfred's eyes still only saw himself. A month ago, when he thought I was making a fuss and wanted me to come back, it was because he believed I should be the one getting dumped, not him. In his eyes, I had no right to break up with him. I opened my phone, found the photo album, and held it up in front of him. They were photos of Swain and me out together. I like to document life, and coincidentally, so does he. He doesn't think it's childish for us, nearly 60 years old combined, to take photos. I'm sorry, but I have a boyfriend now. I care about him very much, and I wish you happiness too. To my surprise, as soon as I finished speaking, Wilfred grabbed my hand and cupped my chin, leaning in. I slapped him. Then I said to him, Wilfred, don't make me hate you. His eyes were bloodshot as he let me go. After returning home, I immediately told Swain what had happened. Swain, worried about me living alone, brought me to his house that very night. Let me be clear, I'm only staying for a few days, I said to Swain, crossing my arms. Don't worry, you can have the master bedroom, I'll be next door. I didn't expect you to be so pure in thought as well as youthful in appearance. Unexpectedly, Swain, not to be outdone, pulled me close, wrapped his arm around my waist, and gently kissed me. A man should never be called pure, he whispered against my lips. The kiss was light and gentle, just like him, giving me a sense of security. So, it wasn't exactly moving in together, but I did end up staying at Swain's house, with each of us in separate bedrooms. I never expected to encounter Wilfred again on my way home from work. Without a word, he pulled me into his car. I was about to call for help, but he covered my mouth. Muriel, don't shout. I won't take up much of your time. I just want to tell you a story. Don't you think you're being ridiculous now, Wilfred? I was actually very angry. I admit I used to foolishly pursue him, thinking that even if he was made of steel, my burning heart would melt him. After so many years, love had long since worn away, leaving only obsession. If Agatha hadn't come back, I might not have seen myself clearly. Of course, I didn't blame Wilfred for not loving me, it was all my own doing. Now, even if he and Agatha were no longer possible, what did it have to do with me? Wilfred pressed me into the passenger seat and fastened the seatbelt. Looking at me, he said, just a moment, I won't take up too much of your time. Wilfred had always been rational, I didn't understand why he was so out of control now. Go ahead then, I tried to calm myself down. We're all civilized people, I didn't want to make the situation too tense. After a while, Wilfred finally spoke. You might not believe this, but I'm a very insecure person. I couldn't help but be surprised. At least in all the years I'd been with him, I never felt that any insecurity prevented him from loving me. Agatha and I broke up because when she went abroad, she told me I had nothing and she couldn't waste her feelings on someone without a future. You find it laughable, don't you? Wilfred smiled desolately and continued. I always thought Agatha and I would walk hand in hand for a long time. Until near graduation, she said she wanted to see the world outside. I planned to go with her and started preparing, but unfortunately, she didn't choose me. She said she could no longer find anything in me to look up to. So I worked hard to prove my abilities to her, that's why I didn't allow myself to make mistakes, why I didn't allow myself to be anything less than excellent. When she came back and asked to meet, I didn't refuse. At that time, I only had one thought, I wanted to show her how well I was doing now, I wanted her to regret. But when we actually met, I realized that many things didn't matter anymore. At that moment, I just wanted to go home quickly. I admit I didn't explain because I didn't want to tell you about this shameful side of me. Muriel, I love you. I feel secure with you. I know I was selfish before, but we've been together for so many years. I can change. I want to walk forward with you. Will you give me another chance? No, I refused without hesitation. Tears welled up in Wilfred's eyes. Wilfred, let's free each other. We've witnessed each other's most vulnerable moments, but I think starting a new life is more important. I don't want to keep going in circles in our memories. As I finished speaking, I heard a sound at the car window. I turned my head to see Swain. Without hesitation, I opened the car door. Wilfred quickly composed himself. As I got out of the car, I said to him, I truly hope you can find happiness. Then I ran toward Swain. I sent you a WhatsApp message when I finished work, saying I happened to be in the area and could wait for you to finish, I said, linking arms with Swain as we walked. I recounted everything that had happened earlier. Swain listened attentively before responding. As an outsider, I'm not sure how to judge him. But I'm grateful for your honesty. Let's eat at home tonight. I'll cook for you, I suggested with a smile. How about I do the cooking instead? I'm better at it than you, he countered gently. For the first time, I wasn't the one cooking at home. Instead, someone else was preparing a meal for me. Swain explained that a girl's skin was too delicate and he couldn't bear the thought of me enduring the smell of cooking oil. After dinner, we cuddled up on the sofa and rewatched an old film, Love Actually. The course of true love never did run smooth, was one of the lines from the movie. I looked up at Swain, and he leaned in for a sweet kiss. Though brief, it left me feeling secure. I've seen you before, Swain suddenly said to me. Oh no, not another cliché plot twist. I swear I had never met Swain before. But he didn't elaborate. Just as I was about to question him, he said, let's keep some mystery, shall we? I tossed a pillow at him, and we dissolved into laughter. The next time I heard about Wilfred was from Mabel. It made sense. After that day, I had blocked him on all platforms, so naturally, I didn't know about his recent situation. But I didn't want to know either. Mabel placed a box in front of me, saying it was from Wilfred for me. I opened it to find a diamond ring. I froze on the spot, and even Mabel let out a gasp of surprise. I had no idea what he was up to. Wilfred, he seems to be in a bad way, Mabel began. When he came to see me, he looked quite miserable. He didn't say anything, just gave me this box to pass on to you, and asked me to tell you he wishes you happiness. I recognized this ring. A few weeks before we broke up, we had gone window shopping together. On a whim, I had dragged him into a jeweler's to try on rings. This was the one I had liked. But he hadn't bought it for me then. Mabel then handed me an envelope. Inside were 2 photographs. One was a solo picture of me, taken the day Wilfred had given me an instant camera. I had asked him to take it. I had hung many photos on my wall and taken them all with me when I moved. I didn't know how this one had been left behind. The other was the couple photo I had torn up in front of him last time. He had pieced it back together. I turned it over to find a line written on the back. Muriel, if you look back, I'm still here. Mabel nervously nudged me. Muriel, I didn't expect Wilfred to do something so romantic, but don't get emotional, all right? Remember you have Swain. I closed the box and handed it back to Mabel. I'll keep the photos, but please return the box to him. And thank him for me. Mabel looked visibly relieved. When I told Swain Sinclair about this, he showed understanding. He said, we all learn to love through trial and error. But only mutual effort will yield results, whether good or bad. This way, neither of us will have regrets. He lovingly embraced me and said, from now on, let's explore together. Indeed, Wilfred Thornton taught me how to grow. Even though it didn't work out in the end, I'm still grateful to him for teaching me how to love in the future. My relationship with Swain is also an experiment. We've been honest with each other and agreed to put in equal effort to write our own story. We've been to many places together. Starting from the outskirts of the city, we progressed to short trips and then long journeys. We appreciated every flower and blade of grass, listened to birdsong and frog calls. To see the sunrise, we climbed mountains until we were exhausted, still laughing like fools. To see coral reefs and schools of fish, we dove to the seabed, almost running out of oxygen. To wait for the starry sky, we pitched tents on mountain tops, shivering from the cold. I even attended my first concert, shouting excitedly in the crowd. Surprisingly, I even tried paragliding with Swain. As we fell from thousands of meters high, I spread my arms, feeling the wind whistling past my ears. At that moment, I felt nothing but awe. I discovered that there were such wonderful experiences in the world that I had never tried before. Swain and I made a pact to always make time to clear our minds, no matter how busy we get. A year later, Swain prepared a grand proposal for me. I didn't cry, I just smiled at him. I hoped that he would be there to experience and witness our journey through this world together. I felt truly happy. Another year passed, and Swain and I got married. On our wedding day, I was surprised to see Wilfred Thornton there. I thought we would never see each other again. After more than 2 years, looking back on everything that had happened, it all seemed trivial now. He said he had attended Agatha Somerville's wedding last year. He congratulated me on finally finding my happiness. Swain invited him to sit with the other guests. On stage, looking at Swain's boyish face, I happily answered, I do. I do want to spend the rest of my life with him. From the corner of my eye, I saw Wilfred. He was smiling at me, his face covered in tears. I saw his lips move, seeming to say, goodbye.